This is a fascinating story, Willie Heads. Check this out. This is apparently the SS Cotopaxi, which was last seen in the 1920s and disappeared somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle, en route from America to Havana in Cuba, and has resurfaced recently. So let's have a look here. I'm just reading stories. This is from the Inquisitor. According to WNDR, Coast Guards found the SS Cotopaxi, a cargo ship that disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle while sailing to Havana from South Carolina in 1925 on May the 16th, 2015 off the coast of Cuba. So this disappeared in 1925. They just found it last year, so it's, what, 90 years old? SS Cotopaxi, a vessel owned by the Clinchfield Navigation Company, left Charleston in South Carolina on November the 29th, 1925 for Havana in Cuba with a cargo of more than 2,300 tons of coal and a crew of 32 men commanded by Captain W.J. Meyer. 23,000 tons of coal, that's a lot of coal. On December the 1st, 2 days after it left Charleston, the ship sent its final communication. I'll let you look at the picture while I read the story. The ship sent its final communication, a distress message that the ship was sinking after a tropical storm. Despite the fact that the ship was known to have been in distress before it disappeared, popular culture invested its fate with mystery, and the stories about the disappearance of the ship gained a prominent place in the lore and legend of the Bermuda Triangle. But according to WNDR, a tramp steamer reappeared mysteriously on May 16, 2015, nearly 90 years after it went missing. And that is it there, I presume. The website claimed that the Cuban Coast Guard announced early on May 18, 2015, that on May 16th, they spotted a ship adrift at sea just outside a restricted zone to the west of Havana. After several unsuccessful attempts to communicate with the ship, 3 patrol boats were dispatched to intercept it. The Coast Guard found that the ship was unmanned, and after boarding it, they were surprised to find that a rusty and cobwebbed century-old tramp steamer that had been abandoned for ages. Documents found on the ship disclosed the shocking information that the ship was the SS Cotopaxi that disappeared mysteriously in the Bermuda Triangle in November 1925. How about that then? The WNDR story went on to claim that the captain's logbook was found on the ship that gave further evidence the ship was, in fact, the SS Cotopaxi, built in 1918 by the Great Lakes Engineering Works for the Clinchfield Navigation Company. The logbook yielded no clues as to what caused the ship to disappear. According to the WNDR, Rodolfo Salvador Cruz, a Cuban expert in navigation history, said the captain's logbook was authentic. He said the logbook contained valuable information about the day-to-day life of the crew until the moment the ship disappeared. According to Rodolfo, the logbook stops abruptly on the morning of December the 1st, 1925, about the time sent its final distress call. General Abel Arado Colomon, the Vice President of the Council of State of Cuba, said that a thorough investigation was ongoing to determine the cause of the ship, what caused the ship to disappear, then reappear nearly 90 years later. Wow. And there is there's the Bermuda Triangle. Absolutely amazing. Cuba is here Puerto Rico, Cuba is here somewhere, isn't it? In the Gulf of Mexico, and I presume that Charleston is here somewhere. I'm not quite perfectly sure. Isn't Charleston there? Because Charleston, North Virginia. I'm not an American. I'm not an expert in American geology, but I'm guessing it. Well, it probably didn't sail from the Gulf of Mexico. It probably sailed from this coast here somewhere en route and disappeared somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle. Crazy story. Let's see what else we've got. There's another picture of the SS Cotopaxi. This, I presume, is what reappeared. And it does look like one of those, it looks like something from the Pirates of the Caribbean, doesn't it? You know, it really does. Let's have a look. This is the Wikipedia. SS Cotopaxi. The SS Cotopaxi was a tramp steamer named after the Cotopaxi stratovolcano. She vanished on December 1925 whilst en route from Charleston, South Carolina. It wasn't North Virginia, it's South Carolina. I know it's in South Carolina now, I've heard it before. United States to Havana, Cuba, with all hands, vanish with all hands. The Cotopaxi is a container ship of 2,351, I presume, gross register tonnage. And she's carrying almost that much tons of coal as well. That's an interesting... didn't I just read she was carrying 2,500 tons of coal, but she only weighs 2,351 tons? That seems a strange discrepancy. She was built by the Great Lakes Engineering Works at Coursey, Michigan, in 1918 for the Clinchfield Navigation Company. Well, we've been through that. Final voyage. On 29th of November 1925, the Cotopaxi departed Charleston, South Carolina for Havana, Cuba, under Captain W.J. Meyer. She was carrying a cargo of coal and a crew of 32. On the 1st of December, the Cotopaxi radioed a distress call, reporting that the ship was listing and taking on water during a tropical storm. The ship was officially listed as overdue on the 31st of December. Despite the last radio transmission indicating the ship was about to sink, she has since been connected with the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. Now, this is quite interesting. In the 1980 director's cut of the 1977 film Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the Cotopaxi was discovered located in the Gobi Desert, presumably sent there by extraterrestrial forces. That's presuming that the Bermuda Triangle is controlled by extraterrestrial forces, which is a bit of a large leap in the dark. In a documentary on the making of the film, presumably sent there by extraterrestrial forces, which is something of a leap in the dark, but it reminds me of a film I saw recently. I think it was called Sahara, with Matthew McConaughey in it, and they found a ship in the desert full of gold. A big ocean-going ship. Just something that came up slightly connected to that, but that's very interesting, isn't it? Let's have a look. What else have we got? This is another story from another, don't quite say where it's from. This is perhaps the World News Daily Report, which they were talking. This is perhaps the original source of the story. So let's see here. Bermuda Triangle. Ship reappears 90 years after going missing. Havana, the Cuban Coast Guard announced this morning that they had intercepted an unmanned ship heading for the island, which is presumed to be the SS Cotopaxi, a tramp steamer which vanished in December 1925 and has since been connected to the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. The Cuban authorities spotted the ship for the first time on May the 16th near a restricted military zone west of Havana. They made many unsuccessful attempts to communicate with the crew and finally mobilized 3 patrol boats to intercept it. When they reached it, they were surprised that the ship was actually a nearly 100-year-old steamer identified as the Cotopaxi, a name famously associated with the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. There was no one on board, and the ship seemed to have been abandoned for decades, suggesting that this could actually be the tramp freighter that disappeared in 1925. An exhaustive search of the ship led to the discovery of the captain's logbook. I presume that's it there. It was indeed associated with the Clinchfield Navigation Company, the owners of the SS Cotopaxi, but it hasn't brought any clue concerning as to what happened to the ship over the last 90 years. Cuban expert, and he looks like a Cuban, that fellow, doesn't he? Rodolfo Salvador Cruz believed that the captain's logbook is authentic. This document is full of precious information concerning the life of the crew before the ship's disappearance, but the entries suddenly stop on December the 1st, 1925. On the 29th of November, 1925, the SS Cotopaxi departed Charleston, South Carolina, and headed towards Havana, Cuba. The ship had a crew of 32 men under the command of Captain W.J. Mayer and was carrying a cargo of 2,340 tons of coal. 2,340 tons of coal. Let's go back to that a second. The Cotopaxi ship, a ship of... Okay. This article is a historic measure of the ship's internal volume since superseded. It is not to be confused with the deadweight tonnage or displacement of the ship, gross register tonnage. A ship's total internal volume expressed in register tons. Okay, well perhaps I'm not an expert on ships, and perhaps that is a legitimate cargo for it to carry. It just seems a lot. Anyway. Carrying a cargo of 2,340 tons of coal, it was reported missing 2 days later and was unheard of for almost 90 years. The Vice President of the Council of Ministers, General Alberto Colome, announced that the Cuban authorities were going to conduct a thorough investigation to elucidate the mystery of the ship's disappearance and reappearance. It is very important to us to understand what happened, says General Colome. Such incidents could be really bad for our economy, so we want to make sure that this kind of disappearance doesn't happen again. The time has come to solve the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle once and for all. There is the Bermuda Triangle. Well, let's throw a little bit of reason into it here. The seas there are, it's a bit like the Bermuda Triangle. A lot of ships went missing there. It's kind of like saying, 1945 Berlin, the most bombed city and fought over city on the face of the earth. Up until that point, Hitler mysteriously disappears. Well, he could have mysteriously disappeared, and he could well have escaped, but there's a good chance he just got blown up. So let's throw some reason into it. I am not a, I am a fan of conspiracy theories. I like them. I like to hear alternative news. But if you're going to hear alternative news, you also got to look at the mainstream news as well. Just have a reference point, if nothing else. The Bermuda Triangle is a loosely defined region covering the area between Miami, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda, where dozens of ships and planes have disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Popular culture has attributed many of the disappearances to paranormal and supernatural phenomena, or to the activity of extraterrestrial beings. One explanation even pins the blame on leftover technology from the mythical lost continent of Atlantis. Despite the popularity of all these theories, most scientists don't even recognize the existence of the Bermuda Triangle and blame human mistakes or natural phenomena for the disappearances. The mysterious reappearance of the SS Cotopaxi has, however, generated a lot of interest in the scientific community and could push some experts to change their mind on the subject. Well, it's a fascinating looking wreck, isn't it? And it's a fascinating story. The SS Cotopaxi. If I hear anything more about it, Willy Heads, I will let you know. That's all for now. Be well. Wow, check this out. What an amazing discovery. King Willie Puck the Foley's t-shirts, Puck the Foley's sweatshirts, and even original art. Wouldn't it be, how cool would it be if you could perhaps buy these things, in the eBay link below? Now that would be a discovery.